Before we begin, I have a bit of a post-production note I want to make here. Now, I know I've already reviewed a lot of Sailor Moon. I reviewed the Dark Kingdom arc in Sailor Moon Season 1, and then I reviewed the Makaichi arc and the Black Moon Kingdom arc, or Black Moon Clan arc in Sailor Moon R. And I got both Blu-rays that have the DVDs with them too, and they're a whole complete series. They're really nice stuff. But something I forgot to mention in the script because I had originally went on a rant about it, but I decided to clip out the rant because this video is long as is that my Sailor Moon S, the Deathbuster arc copy, it's really good. I've already said that this is my favorite arc in the previous reviews, but something stupid is that the Blu-rays, specifically during the Udial fight in the Marine Chapel, kind of froze up, and I realized the disc either was maybe scratched or smudged, and for the longest time, I thought I was screwed. Because I bought the whole series, and it was really sad that my favorite season got the disc bugger. But ever thankfully, it included both the DVDs and the Blu-rays. Now, granted, I had the DVD quality footage, but at least I had it on physical copies. So, if you're wondering why at a certain part of the video it sounds like I'm about to rant, but I don't, it's because I cut out the rant that my disc was kind of broken. But anyways, let's get on the review now, starting with that intro skit. Our last review was... oh boy, our last review of this freaking anime right here was probably not all of the people who thought of this anime as really, really popular wanted to hear, but me and Maverick stand by your opinion that we don't speak its name! We don't speak the name of those forbidden videos. Noted. We shall not speak its name. I wish I had more to say to this intro skit.
You're saying that we need someone who can wield the Holy Grail for the Deathbusters. Can I assume this person might be one of us?
Oh, yes.
Greetings, comrades, and hello, everyone. I'm 1866. Welcome back to the Anime Memories Retrospective. With this being a retrospective of my personal anime collection, it comes recommended that you watch the other parts first. Now, granted, you don't have to watch every other single review I've ever done, but with this being the third season of Sailor Moon, I do advise watching the first two seasons at least, since I divided the first two seasons across 3 videos for each arc. Again, not required, but does come recommended. By this point in the retrospective, I've nailed why I felt super split on a mix of subjectively good and bad things in Wild Arms Twilight Venom, or WATV for short. We all know the story of the 5-hour-long review in the short edition by now, so I don't really need to dwell on that here. Following that, I explained how Trigun was essentially a better sci-fi western anime that held up pretty well, even if it's a bit dated. My third review covered Cardcaptor Sakura, the Glow Card arc, a magical girl anime I originally watched to make fun of, but personally I latched onto it when I saw how it differed from the norm, giving it its own special identity. My fourth review continued this line of logic in Cardcaptor Sakura, the Sakura card, how it managed to be in my top 5 magical girl anime arcs. It just had so much going for it that I have a hard time giving elsewhere. Previously, this review was blocked, but I managed to upload it to Google Photos for those who want the full video without bits being cut out like in the YouTube upload. We know how stingy YouTube copyright is, people. Of course, given how I'm covering the series right now, I previously criticized Sailor Moon Classics Season 1's Dark Kingdom arc, and how its innovative name and place for anime in America doesn't quite save it from being hard to go back to. Switching genres up after that, I put a solid defense on why Hellsing Classic works as an entry to horror in the anime department. It's also a uniquely interesting adaptation of the series, regardless of it following or straying from the source material. Heck, I even similarly praised Sailor Moon R's Season 2's Makai Tree Aliens arc for being a well-written bit of the series. Once again, I emphasize that being accurate to the source material does not always equal better. Furthermore, this arc doesn't take away anything from the previously established formula, quite the opposite in fact, it expands upon it, so I don't see the issue when people bring up its pacing. Afterwards, I switched genres again, going towards High School DxD Season 1, which was an okay start, but not a good representation of a harem anime, especially for the time it came out. The flaws here are super hard to defend, since quality standards and formulas have already been established in other series with similar genres by this point. It just wasn't a good idea to risk such a low profile here. Even if we did get more seasons, if it just ended here hypothetically, I would have been shaking my head. I did another shift of tone when going into Berserk lightly. I know it's not as deep as others would have wanted, but let's be real here, people. If you want a more deep review, look at someone else's review, because Berserk is talked about frequently, and I do agree, it's an amazing series, even if people can overrate Berserk at times. Going back to Sailor Moon R, Season 2's Black Moon Clan arc, I had fully invested myself by this point, and it has been proven that Sailor Moon can still be entertaining. Even if it's dated, this is proof this series can do it. Now, why the Dark Kingdom arc kind of rubbed off with time, I know not, but regardless. And I know this season had Chibiusa, but she's actually pretty important, people, regardless of how you think she's annoying. They had her appear in several other seasons past this one, and that's proof they needed her for the story. You don't have to like Chibiusa, though I feel like a lot of the complaints put in her direction aren't exactly justified. Much like in my CCS Arc 2 video getting blocked, my Season 1 episode tier of Fullmetal Alchemist 2003, featuring my comrade Cameron Douglas, got scenes blocked. But ever thankfully, you can view the whole uncut thing on Google Photos if you're curious enough. Devil May Cry, the animated series, was next after being delayed for a really long time. I mean, Devil May Cry, the animated series, was the very first review I ordered on my Amazon order history. And Elfen Lied? Well, I'm gonna let Maverick do all the talking for me in that regard. We don't speak its name! We don't speak its name! Those forgotten clips! Those forgotten videos from the deepest depths of hell! We don't speak its name! Well, enough said, I guess. So, with that said and out of the way, let's finally go into detail about why Sailor Moon S, the third season, aka the Deathbusters arc, is, in my opinion, the best part of the series.
Pink sugar! Hard! Attack! Huh? What the? Why isn't it working? Ow.
With a new season comes new characters. episodes. And with new characters comes a new character segment in my reviews, regardless of some reviews having segments taken in or out. As you probably saw in the title card of the segment, Chibiusa returns in a Sailor Guardian form, named Sailor Mini-Moon, where she's both cute and a source of comedy. Okay, Sailor Mini-Moon isn't really all that useful. She acts as basically another Tuxedo Mask in this season. Though, I'm okay with that when she can make me chuckle at times like this.
I'll punish you!
What was that?
I said, in the name of the future moon, I'll punish you! Pink sugar, heart, attack! Huh? I did it!
I'll get rid of them all! Huh? Hey! Where did everybody go?
Huh? You're right! They're gone! But Damon, that's enough! I am the pretty guardian trainee who fights for love and for justice! I am Sailor Chibi Moon! And now, in the name of the future moon, I'll punish you! Yep, nailed it.
Beat it! This is no place for a kid like you.
Excuse me?
That was good. Hey! Sort that out!
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, these actually, on occasion, got a chuckle out of me. Now, okay, granted, I know Chibiusa can still be annoying. Even in a few of these scenes, it's a little bit meh. But, I mean, honestly, it's a lot better than Tuxedo Mask, which is just...
Hey, who did that?
Tuxedo Mask!
Those who dare to toy with the pure of heart will one day find themselves judged by those who are pure. How dare you try to harm the pure heart of a lovely girl working hard to fulfill her dreams?
You're here, Tuxedo Mask!
Debord, it's time to permanently dispose of these sappy eyesores.
Tuxedo Mask, you're here!
You know what? I'm just gonna make a compilation of the majority of the time Tuxedo Mask has thrown a rose in these episodes. Is this guy really supposed to be Usagi's love interest? The fact that these roses actually stop their intended targets is also pretty surprising. Thorns or not, they're still roses. What, are you telling me the Tuxedo Mask tries to pull an Alexander Anderson from Hellsing and puts blessings on everything he has?
I purify this house so filthy creatures can't use their cheap black magic.
Get serious.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Costro, for getting me back on track. Anyways, back on characters that return or characters that get major changes. Chibiusa coming in as Sailor Chibi Moon is a welcome change of pace. However, she's not the only returning character. Same can be said for Sailor Pluto, who actually kind of gets almost the opposite spectrum as Chibiusa. We knew Chibiusa as Chibiusa, and she didn't develop the Sailor Mini-Moon part of herself until, well, this season. However, here, Sailor Pluto finally gives herself an alias, Setsuna, which is nice, and, well, she doesn't have as much screen time as Chibiusa, and she really is there more to be a lore giver, coming in for important scenes, being the time travel gal, knowing all that stuff, as well as being another addition to the Outer Senshi / Outer Sailor Scouts. Oh yeah, I should probably cover those. I mean, they are the main focus of this new arc after all. Early on in the series, the rest of the scouts meet Haruka and Michiru. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm fooling no one with this. I mean, seriously, people. Sailor Moon hasn't been known for great twists anyways. Haruka and Michiru are Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune, respectively. And I know I've said on occasion that Sailor Mars and Sailor Chibi Moon were my favorite of the Sailor Scouts. Well, Uranus has always topped my list. Yes, you did hear me correctly. Way back when, my top 3 Sailor Scouts were as follows. Number 3 went to Chibiusa / Sailor Chibi Moon. Number 2 went to Rei / Sailor Mars. And number 1 went to Haruka, also known as Sailor Uranus. And for the longest time, Sailor Uranus was my favorite. No butt jokes, please. However, upon rewatching the series, even she got bumped down a few ranks. In fact, my original top 3 Sailor Scouts, only one of them has remained in the top 3, and that's Sailor Mars. Chibiusa and Haruka, Sailor Mini-Moon and Uranus respectively, got bumped down a few ranks, but I still really do like Haruka. Now, I know she is kind of a bitch, I know. I mean, some people like Anime America's Robin really went out of their...
And that's the problem I have with this series. Uranus and Neptune. They have the gall to say they're on a mission, and the others will only get in their way. It's just flat out bitchy.
I can't exactly deny you there, Robin. Yeah, Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune, they do kind of go out of their way to be those edgy characters that can't exactly team up with the others. However, at the very least, with this season being substantially darker, I can see why, given they're taking things a lot more seriously. And I do like the whole end justifies the means gray zone arc they go for. And I definitely admit that for the bitchy character, Rei / Sailor Mars had it better, since Rei / Sailor Mars definitely handled it better, as well as was just being more effectively written. Furthermore, we don't need a second bitchy girl. So I do agree with Robin in that regard. Love your content, by the way, but back on track. I've always had strange opinions on these two, since while I really do love Sailor Uranus, even if she has dropped quite a bit on the rankings as time passes by, my opinions on Michiru / Sailor Neptune have remained pretty unchanged. Not gonna lie when I say Sailor Neptune is the one that I have. I know there's a lot of people out there who talk about the controversial aspect of Michiru and Haruka being lesbians, with the DIC / Cloverway dub censoring it by making them cousins. Well, I'll say right now that I personally don't mind, and the whole lesbian relation thing is fine with me. I mean, we had the gay dynamic with Kunzite and Zoisite, so having a lesbian relation isn't too out of the ordinary, I guess. Anyways, back on Uranus and Neptune. I've always preferred Uranus / Haruka because, well, yes, she definitely is way more direct about her bitchiness. It's shown she doesn't exactly like being that way, and we also see a number of times where we see her struggle, internally and externally. Michiru / Neptune isn't quite the same way. Unlike Uranus / Haruka, who actively tries to resist her urge to be bitchy, Neptune kind of just masquerades it with this whole grace and elegance act, which feels really snobbish. I know it's all subjective, but I find this to be way less forgivable than what we got with Uranus, who at least tried to show some sort of honor even when saying such harsh things during the mission. I feel like Neptune masquerading her whole bitchiness under a guise of elegance and grace is just really stupid. It feels more like a lame justification than an actual character bit. Now, it still works as a character bit, just not a really effective one in my eyes. Again, I know it's all subjective, but it's one thing to be bitchy and try to resist it, rather than being bitchy and, well, trying to hide it. At least Haruka doesn't try and hide it, and actually shows she doesn't exactly like it. Michiru, not so much. I know that might sound weird for me to say the one that doesn't show her bitchiness as much is worse, but let me explain. I genuinely think that Haruka and Michiru's relationship would be a lot more healthy if Michiru had the nerve to tell Haruka when she may have been diving a little bit too deep, in quotation marks. Water joke! But that's aside the point. Like, if Michiru/Neptune actually told Haruka/Uranus, hey, maybe you're going a bit too deep, that would actually make their relationship a lot more honest and a lot more trustworthy. And I think it would even, help them side with the other Sailor Guardians. Instead of this whole, we have to be the one that has to do it, blah, 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 blah. And I just feel like Michiru, instead of coming clean and saying, Haruka, maybe this isn't a good idea, she, in a weird way, plays along with it, almost inheriting Haruka's bitchiness in her own unique way, by masquerading it under a guise of elegance and grace. I just feel like that's not really healthy. Now, I get it, it's supposed to be portrayed as a struggle, and it's an okay one in concept. I'm just not really that keen on how it's portrayed. With all that said out of the way, though, let's talk about the new characters, or more.
Alright, partner, time for the good old-fashioned enemy faction ramble. I don't know why I use that accent, but whatever. Our enemy faction this time are the Deathbusters. These were the villains that personally stuck out to me the most. Mainly due to their leader, but I'll get to him in a minute. The new monsters/minions of the week I've always criticized in nearly every review. Here, however, they finally did it. They finally made the monsters/minions of the week actually pretty interesting. The Daemon Egg entities are some of the best monsters/minions of the week. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still about as basic in fights and concepts, but there is more to them, giving them charm that other monsters/minions of the weeks didn't have before, and even now. You see, the Daemon Egg entities, it's because daemons and demons sound really similar, a problem Sailor Moon has with its villain faction names, just saying. The Daemon Eggs attach themselves to basically anything and create a monster. I'm not even kidding here. They attach themselves to anything. Objects, animals, people even, and they create a monster. Now, I know the Daemon Egg entities are more fan service based, with them extracting pure heart crystals from their targets in really weird ways with the star symbol on their body, and more often than not, these are placed in fan-servicey locations like above the chest or on their hands in really, really weird positions and whatnot, but truth be told, I think it works given how this arc is much darker, and they wanted you to feel uneasy, and adding a bit of fan service to the demons trying to kill you definitely helps make you feel on edge, so I'll give it that. The Daemon Egg entities are actually pretty unique in visual design too. Like, I know I complained about weird stuff like an electric drum in Sailor Moon R, or God forbid, a minion that was literally a freaking perfume bottle. Like, what? But here, the Daemon Egg entities have more unique designs. We have a car that transforms into a car gal. We got a heart-shaped neon sign that becomes this electric, lovey-dovey hallucinating thing, which is weird, but okay, I guess. And visually, it has that kind of neon-y design. I don't know if I just like neon lights, but whatever. A few other monsters, like the Glass Slipper Demon, actually can be pretty threatening when making glass swords and trapping Sailor Moon in glass and store windows, since glass is everywhere. And one thing I really have to give to the Daemon Egg entities are the strategy. You see, the monsters/minions of the week didn't really have a lot of strategy in Sailor Moon, and they were really, really lame encounters, past the first few, or any substantial ones that introduced new Sailor Scouts. Here, however, as the series goes on, the basic monsters/minions of the week get kind of a sort of mini treatment that the elites got, where new strategies come in. You see, about midway through the season, the Daemon Egg entities were mainly just sent out to different random objects nearby the targets. And if you're wondering how they get their targets, they improved upon that too, since literally the Deathbusters hideout is in the Mugen Academy, a super prestigious rich college. And it makes sense that an academy like that would have access to information since they need to do background checks and check grades, so it's obvious they would have that kind of access to databases and whatnot. Again, good explanation. But back on the Daemon Egg entities though. The fact that they could be literally anything means that their target could be literally anywhere, and all they have to do is send a Daemon Egg entity out to an object nearby, and it will take their heart. And the Sailor Scouts would have to really rush over there to stop the Daemon Egg entity before it takes the heart, which are symbolized with these crystal things. Basically, crystal hearts. And there's a thing in Paper Mario. Anyways. Sorry, I keep getting sidetracked here. However, even the Daemon Egg entities improve as they go on. I swear, saying Daemon Egg entities multiple times is making it harder to say. I'm sorry, I'm going off track again. Anyways, for real this time, the Daemon Egg entities improve as they go on. You see, they started out by just sending the eggs to different objects near their targets. And this was fine for the first few, but once the first major elite Kalo Knight dies... Wow, I just cannot talk today, people, but I'm keeping it in anyways. Once the first major elite Kalo Knight dies, Dr. Tomoe, one of the big bads, decides that the current strategy isn't working and decides to improve the Daemon Egg formula by making an object pre-made, so they basically make the daemon in the lab, then bring it to the scouts, so it's less noticeable. Again, smart strategy. And it definitely works given the fact that the Sailor Scouts learned to track when the Daemon Eggs were going, as well as seeing the Daemon Eggs' flight route would lead them towards their hideout. So it's a win-win strategy for the Deathbusters to change it up this way. Again, I like this. It's small and it's not big, but it definitely has just that little bit more strategy that the basic monsters / minions of the week needed. Furthermore, it's actually pretty cool just to see the car animation Yu-Gi-Oh has. I don't know, it just looks really smooth when it comes to motion shots. Again, the basic monsters / minions of the week, the Daemon Egg entities, do have a lot of fan service going for them. Their designs are definitely a bit kinkier, but you know, I think it works given how this arc just tries to be darker, and giving them more kinky designs just add to further unease. Now, does it change the fact that getting turned on by something trying to kill you is weird? Well, yeah, that is actually really freaking weird, but nah, I won't go into too much detail about that. However, they don't just do this once, they do it again when the second major elite dies, Mehmet, I think her name was, and Dr. Tomoe decides to change the formula for the Daemon Eggs again so that they make them ahead of time. However, the Daemon Egg entities would eat the crystals, protect them, and then run back to the lab, trying to avoid conflict. Which is smart, again, since he learns that the Sailor Scouts are overpowering the Daemon Egg entities, so he'll just have the Daemon Egg entity eat the crystal so it can be extracted back at the lab, meaning the Sailor Scouts would have to rush before they escape. See, this is actual strategy here, and this is why the Daemon Egg entities are by far the best monsters / minions of the week. They have more strategy, and okay, I don't deny the fan service is really weird. But the fact that they made the combat with them interesting to say the least is a massive step up. Furthermore, with the crystal hearts being really important and breaking them, meaning the person loses their hearts, it really does make you want to go out of your way to, well, stop the Daemon Egg entities, since people would obviously naturally gather back energy as they did in the first season's elites. It would take some time, but still. And the second arc's elites just, well, attacked. But here, they give you a reason to stop them.
There's just higher stakes here, people, and I think that's what makes the Daemon Egg entities.
I've said that so many times now, and saying that a lot is going to run thin. I think if I go back and watch that previous ramble, I probably said Daemon Egg entities wrong more times than I can count, but I'm keeping it in for laughs. But yeah, the Daemon Egg entities are by far the best monsters / minions of the week thus far, and I can safely claim that I prefer them over the droids, the Cardians, and the Yoma demons. Because I haven't even said what monsters / minions of the week I like better, because they didn't really stand out. The Daemon Egg entities are the exception. Now let's talk about the elites. I've always said Sailor Moon's villain factions always have the most entertaining elites, and I'll admit,
The Deathbusters elites are good, but do kind of take a step back in a few regards. Now, they're still good, they're still really entertaining, but there are a few things I kind of was like, aww, over. It wasn't, again, like, ugh, but it was just a slight disappointment. But the elites here are pretty good. The new elites of this arc are the Witches 5. Now, there's not exactly 5 of them per se, but it's all fine and dandy. The first is Kaolinite, who technically doesn't count as one of the Witches 5 since, well, she was the one that founded them and has the head position, but whatever. She's alright, I definitely think she works as a really good elite, and I'll admit she's actually kinda hot, though the turquoise skin is just not my thing. I don't know if it's just me, but turquoise skin is just not that sexy if you ask me. However, though, I will say that the fight they gave her was actually pretty good, and she's also one of the few elites who actually survived past her first fight. Since, well, she got revived later on, and now we didn't exactly get a full-on second rematch, but it was actually pretty interesting to see Kaolinite get revived midway through. Also, my little one thinks her stomping on Usagi's heart brooch is kinda hot. Just me? Okay, then. Soon after Kaolinite is defeated for the first time, we get the next part of the Witches 5, Udiel, who is by far one of the best elites. I mean, she does the whole taking the daemon to the Sailor Scout strategy that I mentioned earlier during the Monsters / Mini of the Week section. She's actually really smart, opting to improve the tracking of who might have the pure heart crystals with talismans inside of them, and she opts to use technology as her own means of attacking, rather than magic. This is specific with her Firebuster attack, which is actually pretty cool looking as it's literally just a fire bazooka. And it also was pretty surprising that her technology could rival a decent chunk of the Sailor Guardian's attacks. Of course they managed to break through it, but she was able to hold her own quite a bit with Firebuster on many occasions. And the fight we got with Udiel in the Marine Chapel was one of the best fights, as well as being one of the best locations. Furthermore, Udiel's death was actually brutal as they killed her in a car crash. Once again, they make this darker. It's not like, oh, darkest thing ever, but it's way more direct and totally less subtle than the other deaths we got. Up next is Mehmet. Her attack is Charm Buster, which essentially stuns opponents, leaving them wide open. I think she only uses it once, but whatever, and she has a bit of technology too, but she uses more magic, since if I recall correctly, Udiel actually never used magic. Her final scheme actually has her death be pretty brutal as well, as she really goes inside of the virtual world, only to get the plug pulled by another one of the Witches 5 essentially firing her. That's pretty dark if you think about it. I mean, trapped in a virtual world for all eternity? I guess Mehmet's become a Rule 34 model now. I am so sorry for going there. But it really does make you wonder what she's gonna do while she's stuck endlessly on the web all day. Sorry, I'm going way too much into detail about that. Talu's up next, and her attack is... I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sad to say, but whatever. She's the plant gal, being, well, probably the least interesting of the bunch, but at the very least it's revealed Kaolinite was revived the second Talu was introduced. Like, it's called Mandragora Buster? I don't know. Basically, it shoots out vine whips, like in Pokemon. Just think of that. And, here's another thing actually really sad about the Witches 5. Past Mehmet, Udiel, and Kaolinite, the rest of the Witches 5 get the one-episode treatment. Yeah, the Bull brothers, Kyril and Archyril, were not the only ones that got the one-episode treatment. The last 3 of the Witches 5 got the one-episode treatment. It's a bit of a shame. I mean, they're fine enough, but I would have liked a little bit more. They also make Talu's death by literally having her own daemon self-destruct her. Again, pretty creative. The next is Vilue, or Vilue? Seriously, these names I can't pronounce. Her attack is Mosaic Buster, which is actually, believe it or not, using nano machines. I would put the Metal Gear Rising reference, but I feel like that'd be too low-hanging fruit. She gets the one-episode treatment too, but she does work as a good counter to Mercury for one episode, as well as not disguising her as one of the lab assistants at Mugen Academy, and rather as one of the students, was definitely a small but nice change of pace. And much like a few other villains, she gets killed by her own weapon. Kind of like how Kunzite was killed with his own energy blade, and, well, Telu was killed by her own daemon. Her nanobots manage to malfunction and turn on her, which causes a pretty sad death, all things considered. I mean, I don't exactly feel sorry for her, but it is kind of brutal if you think about it. And finally, the last of the Witches 5 are Cyprine and Pitolo. Seriously, what is up with these names? Their attack is called Ribbon Buster, and of course, at first it just seems like Cyprine is one of them, but it's revealed that Cyprine can split into two twins that share the same body, with her other side being Pitolo. What is up with these names? However, of all the Witches 5s, she probably got the best fight. Maybe I might prefer Udiel's by a tad, but I think the strategy here was really cleverly employed by having Mercury blind the scenery and then causing the two witches to hit each other, thus killing them. Really good fight. Alright, I took a shower, so my hair will be a little less off the charts this time. Hopefully. Anyways, let's talk about the main villains, or the big bads of the Deathbusters. Oh boy, do I have some good stuff. And unfortunately, some bad stuff. Get yourselves a good old-fashioned drink, because I'm probably going to have a few hot takes here, regardless of what the fan base feels. But you know what? These are my reviews, you clicked on them, so you're gonna have to deal with what I have to say. Then again, opinions are all subjective anyways. Blinko fluid, the most normal drink. Excuse me. Well, I think this is the first time I got interrupted when saying that. Okay, enough stalling. Let's talk about the main villains now. After Udiel's death, Chibiusa befriends a character named Hotaru Tomoe, who is someone that's suffering a bit of a disease, let's just say. It's later revealed that Hotaru Tomoe is being possessed by the Deathbusters and being experimented on by her father, Professor Soichi Tomoe, who we'll get into in a minute. Hotaru Tomoe, for those who already know, plays a bigger role than what she does here, but for now, I'll just say she's the vessel for Mistress 9, one of the big bads who works under the great big bad evil Pharaoh 90, who we will get into later. I will say now, I do think Hotaru/Mistress 9 is a good dynamic, and I do think she is one of the more threatening female villains for really having quite an ominous sense about her. Her voice really sells it for me with her being a child, but evolving into this deranged, demonic, possessive puppet by Pharaoh 90, which is really cool. And the whole scenes where we see her on the chair, talking through the speakers, is straight out of a Stephen King movie. The fact that she also manages to take Chibiusa's pure heart to awaken herself also really adds stakes, because now the Sailor Guardians really have to go out of the way to stop the Deathbusters, not only to save the world, but save literally Usagi's daughter and her future. It really is nice to see a female villain done right. I mean, Beryl was a really big letdown, so Mistress 9/Hotaru Tomoe is a great step up in the right direction. Now let's talk about her father, Professor Soichi Tomoe, or Dr. Tomoe as I call him. You know, Sailor Moon has always had trouble with giving its villains story significance, or even just decent backstories in general. Usually the villains are just there to be villains. Dr. Tomoe, however, is an exception. I kid you not when I say this dude is my favorite character in the entirety of the villain cast. Yes, surpassing all of the really well-written female villains that we've seen, and even a few of the other villains that had good arcs. You see, Dr. Tomoe, when it comes to his backstory, he is such a sympathetic character. I mean, his backstory
boy, did they give him a backstory. It's tragic, evil, sympathetic, and actually really dark, and it separates itself from the other villains. Dr. Tomoe, like I said, is not only the best male villain, but he's the best villain in general. They gave him so much identity, and I talked about his voice in my classic arc season 1 review when I talked about the dub changes, but Tomoe is just such an entertaining villain. He has the right amount of intimidation to make him stand out. The way he's in the shadows, the glasses glowing, just being this really mysterious enigma of a character is really intriguing. The fact that he's with the Deathbusters to save his daughter Hotaru from the disease, when in reality it's because of the Deathbusters she has the disease, and the incident that caused her to be so hurt to begin with. And he also really stands out from other villains, since unlike the other male villains who were either edgy or controlling, Tomoe more opts due to his insanity arc for being more clever, weaving his words to direct the Witch's 5 and the other leads to his desired goal without resorting to force or control. And when we see what he really looks like for the first time, I was actually pretty surprised. I didn't expect him to be so old, but man, it just goes without saying. Tomoe is such a good villain. I mean, people, I don't know how else to say it. Tomoe ironically carries a lot of the other villains who either had not that much going for them or villains that were just kind of okay. I mean, that's how you know a villain is really good, if they can save a few other characters that may have not gotten the same treatment he got. And again, I really like it how he does have a really good gray zone arc. Now, it's not quite as interesting as Aelanon's for sure, but it is really emotional since, well, he got wrapped up in this because, well, let's just say he made a deal with the big bad, Pharaoh 90, more info to come, to save his daughter, and when we see what he had to go through to get to this point, and after all of it getting up to this, it's really endearing to see him break down and do all this for his daughter, Hotaru. And also, Tomoe was actually not even evil to begin with, since when he made the deal with Pharaoh 90, he got possessed by a basic monster / minion of the week, named Germatoid, or Germatoid, I don't know how to pronounce, and this leads to what has got to be the absolute best monster / minion of the week fight. Tomoe himself didn't fight, but the daemon possessing him puts up one of the best fights in the entire series. The fight with Germatoid is a great moment for Uranus and Neptune. It has plenty of interesting and unique strategies, and it really just makes the daemons that much more intriguing as a monster / minion of the week faction. I mean, like I said, there was a lot of strategies used here. The upgrades given to Uranus and Neptune were really effectively used, and I just love Tomoe, alright? He really is the best villain, and probably the best male character. I might not say the best character in general, but he is definitely up there for having so much to him that the other characters really didn't get. I mean, I feel bad for him, I laugh with him, I love his schemes, he's a genius. Tomoe is just amazing. Heck, now that I think about it, we get some more about Tomoe as a person. Not just as, like, a villain or his schemes, we actually get to hear just more random chit-chat between them, which gives him a lot more character. I mean, I cannot believe I am saying this, but Tomoe talking just random fun stuff with the Witch's 5 is just really entertaining for me.
You have a passion for sports.
Sounds like a wonderful plan.
I'll get to work and send forth a new demon right away. Perhaps I'll get back into sports myself.
What sport do you especially enjoy, Professor?
Rhythmic gymnastics. Hello, Udiel?
Chin-chin-te, can I take your ramen order?
Are you sure this isn't Udiel?
No, chin-chin-te!
In that case, I'll have to show you marinated buttercorn miso ramen with extra pork.
That's so sweet of you. My favorite are deep red ones. Oh, that's not what you meant, is it?
I'll tell you this, breeding a new rose requires skill and perseverance. I understand there's a botanist in the area who's had great success in raising stunning roses.
Yeah! I mean, like, we never got this with the other villains. We never got to hear about what Jadeite was like or what he does just for fun. I mean, we got a little bit out with, like, Zoisite and Kunzite, but that was so minimal, and I guess a few of the Phantom Sisters got that too, but it really wasn't all that cleverly played. Tomoe, we get to know more about him just as a random person, not just as a villain, and it sells it for me, and it makes him really entertaining. Like, this is a villain, people! He's not like the darkest thing ever, nor is he even the most strong when it comes to raw power, but he's just really, really interesting, and he sticks out from the other villains. I mean, heck, even his funny scenes are actually pretty damn good!
Moderate exercise helps stimulate brain activity, and ideas already forming. Note to self, don't run and cackle. A waltz consists of 3 musical beats. Each beat represents the 3 elements of intellect, culture, and fighting spirit within us. Allow me to demonstrate. What you're about to hear is called Hope for the Future. It's a composition from my younger days.
I see. So what you're telling me is our target should be someone whose pure heart is enchanted by the waltz. My survey has come up with a pure-hearted person who loves the waltz and possesses a passion for the future.
Glorious.
Are you kidding me? What you're playing sounds nothing like a waltz!
1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Hello, Professor?
1, 2, 3.
Professor? Professor! Good grief! The man's out of control.
All of the plans for our new world will be destroyed! We can't allow that to happen! The Holy Grail shall be ours! Uh-oh.
Where are these persons who can harness its power?
That's not your concern, Udio. Focus on getting the talismans. Bye.
Hold on, Professor. You broke the receiver again, didn't you? I'll have the accounting department deduct the repair bill from your next paycheck.
Mark my words, Sailor Guardians. If you interfere with my plans again, I'll make you pay for a new phone!
Oh man, this dude is just amazing. Heck, we even get some other funny scenes like the tea scene I showed back in my Arc 1 review, and the scene with him literally playing Twister. Like, this is stuff that's just amazing. Heck, he even gets locked out of his own place, tries to break in, only for the Sailor Guardians to show up. He panics, but then the Sailor Guardians help him get inside his house. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. And then he proceeds to drop all the groceries, and while waiting for the Sailor Scouts to unlock the door, he just eats the food. This is amazing. However, though, you're probably wondering, how do I feel about the great big bad, Pharaoh 90?
I cannot believe I'm saying this. Beryl was way better than Pharaoh 90. It is such a shame that our big final villain is a massive disappointment.
I kid you not when I say the one thing that takes this season down from a 10 to a 9 is Pharaoh 90. Pharaoh 90 is this giant planetoid creature that controls the other Deathbusters, the Daemon Eggs, Witches 5, Dr. Tomoe, what have you and whatnot. The final fight with Pharaoh 90 takes place off-screen for the most part, and Pharaoh 90 is more used as the self-destruct sequence, while Mistress 9 gets the actual fight. What a lame final villain. Furthermore, Pharaoh 90 was first mentioned only about 5 episodes before the last one. So, the actual mention of Pharaoh 90 in his screen time is pitiful.
I mean, I guess you can argue Mistress 9 did all the talking Pharaoh 90 needed to, but Tomoe made the deal with Pharaoh 90 directly. Furthermore, Pharaoh 90 had all this build-up, they got the Holy Grail and the talismans to bring Pharaoh 90 to Earth. It was a bit of a letdown. Now, Pharaoh 90 isn't like the worst villain I've ever seen, just really rushed and really tacked off. They could have just had Mistress 9 be the villain and Pharaoh 90 just be like, I don't know, a self-destruct sequence. Rather than just making him a character, just make Pharaoh 90 like a plan, like a dark energy cannon or whatever. Sadly, they didn't do that. But oh no, these characters are really good this time around. And I think that even though Pharaoh 90 is a massive letdown, and a few of the Witches 5 could have benefited from more episodes, the characters here I really enjoyed. Let's move on to the next segment, the sound.
I will save both your life and your daughter's, but on one condition.
You can really save her? I'll do whatever it takes, just save my daughter!
I see. I'll take you at your word, but first I'll need both your bodies.
Sailor Moon S has pretty much been really, really good thus far. Even though I really did complain about Pharaoh 90, I think that's more because, theoretically, Pharaoh 90 could have been the best villain if they gave him more screen time, gave him an actual fight, all that jazz. But this is the audio segment, and I don't want to carry that over here. The audio in Sailor Moon has remained pretty consistent for the most part, and regardless of what season you watch, the audio just all around the table is really good. However, this season really increased the bar by adding some violin bits, a lot more dramatic music to fit the darker tones, and tons of other stuff that just has so much. Oh, it's so good. I'm just gonna play a few examples. Yeah, like, in the other arcs, the music was good, but it kind of blended in here and there. However, the music here is really good, and it sticks out for its. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know if it's the instrumentation, I don't know if it's just my personal taste in music, but the music here just really, really rings well with me, and it really helps that this is, in my opinion, the best story when it comes to the season. So the music tying into that really helped. And the villain themes as well as the action themes this time around are literally my favorite collection. Now, I may have said a few of my favorite individual tracks were in R's soundtrack, but here as a collective, the best villain tracks and action tracks are right here in S. And you know what? I know a lot of people out there are split on Sailor Uranus and Neptune. However, I don't know a single person who doesn't like the tracks that are pretty much there anytime Sailor Uranus and Neptune appear on screen. I mean, if there is any award I could give to a Magical Girl anime that invests me on the soundtrack alone, Sailor Moon S would definitely take that vote. So we have great characters, great music. Now let's move on to the story, which, as you can probably guess, is great too.
If so, then please help us!
That title card I kid you not, is the very first thing you will see after the new intro. This is how you grab someone's attention, people. I mean, this is a really just ominous opening that nails the darkness. I mean, the other, arcs opened up with, Ale and On appearing, which was, it was okay, it worked. And, the Dark Kingdom arc obviously opened up with Usagi flailing around like an idiot, and that's fine because that's the first. And the Black Moon Clan arc opened up with Chibiusa falling from the sky, but that was kind of played for laughs. But here, this opening really just gives you that sense of, oh, they're going for something different this time. And I mean that in the good way. Also, giving Rey/Sailor Mars the flashbacks is actually a pretty good excuse. I know I complained about how we already have two bitchy Sailor Scouts, that being Rey/Sailor Mars and Haruka/Sailor Uranus. However, giving her the flashbacks and making her more doubtful for this arc is a good way to make her bitchy in a different way from Haruka. The first episode introduces the Deathbusters, who want to gather 3 talismans from pure hearts to get this thing called the Holy Grail, which will allow them to awaken their leader, the Messiah of Silence. On the way, they unleash daemons, which have decent encounters, and surprisingly enough, the very second daemon Sailor Moon fights, this cat puzzle thing, actually manages to put up a good fight, and Sailor Moon would have lost if it weren't for, surprise surprise, Mamoru. Not for throwing a rose, but because Mamoru actually manages to convert his magical power, the little he has, to give Sailor Moon her next major upgrade for her new attack, Moon Spiral Heart Attack. It definitely sounds like the best attack, though the animation is really over the top with all the spinning. Kinda doofy, but whatever. At least it sounds normal enough. On the way, they have more and more memorable daemon encounters, and surprisingly, I can't believe I'm saying this, the screen time in the arc was so effectively used. Even the episodes that might look like filler actually do have story sinks. I mean, obviously the episodes that have stuff to do with are the ones that introduce Haruka and Michiru for the first time on screen, not in their Sailor Guardian forms, Uranus and Neptune. But it goes beyond that. For instance, they actually developed Umino and Naru's relationship, something they started doing after Nephrite died in front of Naru, and Umino kind of filled in that gap. I actually really appreciated this episode for capitalizing something on, well, the series not really capitalizing on way back when. It doesn't change the fact that it took a while to get back to Naru and Umino, but I will say though that I appreciate the gesture nonetheless. They even did the same thing for Rey/Sailor Mars in developing her relationship with Yuichiro, the other dude that works at the shrine. Again, I appreciate this. It adds significance to what would otherwise be a filler episode. I mean, people, the thing about Sailor Moon S that really sells it for me is that the filler episodes actually do have significance in developing characters. And with most of the characters, or, well, the major characters being introduced, it was the perfect time to bring it all together. I still would have liked it to be earlier, but with all the characters being introduced and all the scouts formed by this point in the series, at least by the end of the Deathbusters arc, I think it was the right decision to give all the characters development and make the filler episodes more focused on individual characters, and I can only applaud the series for that. I mean, like I said, the screen time in this arc is so effectively used, and I cannot believe I am saying that for a Sailor Moon arc of all things. Since Sailor Moon, given the entirety of the 90s anime, is 200 episodes long, you'd think that there would be a lot of wasted time, and there certainly is. But in this arc, I can see a defense for the screen time here. Anyway, sorry about that screen time ramble. On the way, they finally beat Kaolinites in a really good Elite fight, by the way. It's not my personal favorite, but I will certainly take it over Jadeite and Nephrites. Especially considering, while yes, I do like Nephrite's death, Nephrite didn't even really put up that much of a fight. In fact, his very last episode, he didn't even fight him. Even so, the Kaolinite fight is good stuff, and they do think they kill her, but as I said in the character section, she gets revived later on.
right after Kale Knight's death, and I mean literally right after since it's in the same episode she dies, Professor Tomoe sends Udiel, the next of the Witches 5, to continue the job and find more pure heart crystals for the Messiah of Silence. This episode, where Udiel's first demon attack, also has story significance by introducing Chibiusa again, this time as Sailor Minimoon. Once again, more effectively used screen time. It was a good episode, all about a taiko drummer. So, yeah, pretty good stuff. And then the episode right after that, while not story significant, is still massively entertaining. The tea ceremony episode is absolutely hilarious. I mean, if you saw my Arc 1, the Dark Kingdom arc review, you saw that I played a clip of Tomoe drinking tea. And, well, this is the episode that's from. But it also had hilarious moments for Chibiusa, Tuxedo Mask. Like, everyone in this episode was absolutely hilarious. The fact they could make a filler episode that's not story significant fun, I think just shows how much time and effort they put into this season. The Deathbusters arc, as I said, is my favorite arc, no question. Then, right after that episode, we go back to story significance with an entire episode dedicated to Haruka and Michiru explaining their backstory. It's not just a flashback episode, though. No, that would be lame. Instead, they have the Deathbusters target someone who Haruka had personally trained with in physical ed, I believe. And during the same episode, we cut to, well, scenes of Haruka meeting Michiru and becoming Sailor Uranus, as well as fighting their very first demon. Basically, it gives the story a reason to flashback for parts of the episode, while not taking away from the story since something is going on at the same time that caused the flashback. And then again, the episode's screen time is so effectively used. There's just as much flashback, and there's just as much modern time. Once a freaking again, more effectively used screen time. I cannot emphasize that enough. Sailor Moon S, simply put, just has more effectively used screen time, people. I mean, it wastes almost no time, and even when it does, it's still entertaining. I just love the Deathbusters arc, people. The Deathbusters arc just gets it so right, and with everything else this season does, it just sells it for me. Also, since the episode that introduces Uranus and Neptune's backstory, it of course develops their lesbian relation, which I'm all fine with. I mean, I like the gay dynamic between Kunzite and Zoisite, so I have personally no objections with the lesbian relation between Uranus and Neptune. In fact, I actually rather like it. It's actually pretty wholesome. Then, right after that, we get a few more episodes with a few loose daemon fights with Udiel, before finally transitioning into Udiel's very first fight, where she uses her Flamebuster attack for the first time. However, this episode even has story significance too, as finally, I know it takes a while, but the Sailor Scouts finally reveal their identities between the Inner Scouts and the Outer Scouts, or the Inner Senshi and Outer Senshi, depending on which dub/translation you're watching. I still find it stupid that it takes them this long to notice each other, but given the whole rivalry dynamic and the whole, we have to be the ones to do it, I'm all fine with it. And given the fact that when extracting the talisman from the pure hearts, the person has to die, I think it makes sense why Uranus and Neptune would want to take it on themselves, since, well, the Sailor Scouts being this ragtag group, something I've commented on multiple times, it makes sense they would want to take it on themselves, since if the Sailor Guardians all teamed up, they'd effectively be murdering people who had the talismans in their pure heart crystal. Regardless of it saving millions of people from the Messiah of Silence, it doesn't change the fact that they will need to die, since extracting the talismans needed for the Holy Grail just is too cautious of a process to effectively do. Now, of course, they do extract the talismans really late on without killing anyone, thanks to Sailor Pluto, but even then, it does have you on edge. Heck, Uranus actually goes as far as to take Usagi's silver crystal so she can't transform, since, while yes, it might seem bitchy, it's with her best interest, since we know Usagi wouldn't exactly be too happy feeling that someone died at her hands all because she had to save the world. I do appreciate Setsuna / Sailor Pluto being a good voice of reason to the Outer Scouts, but she still doesn't do that much, but I'll take it regardless. Yurio's fight, in my opinion, is the absolute best elite fight, in one of the best locations in the entire series. The Marine Chapel is so atmospheric, and it feels unlike any other place in the entirety of Sailor Moon. I mean, look at this. This is a freaking chapel with traps, music, Yurio using all of her technology and managing to almost kill Uranus and Neptune just has this fight be in my top 10 elites, possibly my number 1. Because there's just so much going for it. I mean, Yurio got 2 episodes dedicated to her fight alone. That's how you know they wanted you to be invested. I mean, people, I'm not exactly praising S because it's overrated. I mean, a lot of people praise S and critically acclaim it for certain things, and there's also a few people who don't really like it, but people, Sailor Moon S is so good. It has everything going for it. There's the dark stuff, there's the comedy, the screen time, I can't believe I'm saying that again, even though I've been probably beating a dead horse by this rate, is so effectively used. This arc does everything. I mean, I know I've said it before, but I'm saying it again, people. The Deathbusters arc, simply put, is the best part of Sailor Moon, period. Now, I'm not sure about the Crystal variant, because I haven't quite gotten there yet, but in the 90s anime, the Deathbusters arc is so entertaining, with such a cohesive story that really stands out from the other arcs of the 90s anime. Back on the Yurio fight. I do love the Yurio fight, and it's really good stuff. I mean, for one, it really topped the Kale Knight fight and a lot of the other Elite fights, and I mean, even though I did like the other Elite fights in other arcs, this one has so much going for it. Maybe it's because they gave Yurio more screen time, there I go using that term again, by giving her 2 episodes, as well as giving her massive story significance and having her plan be pure genius. But I do appreciate what they did here. And the fact that Sailor Pluto manages to not only extract the talismans so that the Deathbusters can't use the Grail, they also managed to get the Grail for themselves, allowing Sailor Moon to do a double transformation. And that's actually pretty cool. Sailor Moon's new transformation also looks pretty cool with the ribbons and the butterfly wings. I like that stuff. As well as it finally lets her defeat Yurio, but Yurio runs off to try and retreat, but the other Witches 5 decide to sabotage her by taking the brakes out of her car, thus causing her to die in a car crash. I mean, I've already said how that's a pretty dark death. I mean, it's not like bloody or anything, but if you think about it, it's definitely a lot more direct than, I don't know, dying by magic or whatever, where they could soften it anyway. Dying by a car crash is just more realistic. Also, the Yurio episode also shows Hotaru for the very first time at the very end. Then the following episode shows Dr. Tomoe and Hotaru, and it's revealed that Hotaru is going to be their main means of reviving the Messiah of Silence, Pharaoh 90. The following episode also has the new schemes with the Daemons, by having the Daemon eat the Pure Heart Crystal and come back to the lab, so they don't have to fight the Sailor Scouts directly, making the Sailor Scouts have to rush to kill the Daemon before it escapes, and it's all good stuff. Chibiusa befriends Hotaru. In fact, there's an entire gambling episode, and boy, I freaking love these. Legit, people. In all of the episodes of the retrospective, we've had good gambling episodes. Episode 9, Slave of the Game from WATV, Episode 4, Love and Peace from Trigun, and again, real talk, people. I don't know if gambling episodes are just my niche, but this episode is so entertaining. I mean, it's the episode where Dr. Tomoe gets locked out of his house and his Sailor Guardians help him. We have Hotaru and Chibiusa playing Old Maid while getting trapped in interdimensional space, following the fight with the Daemon that is literally a dealer in a bunny girl outfit. I kid you not. And okay, you could complain it's obvious fan service, but the episode is so entertaining. Again, what is it with everything I watch getting good gambling episodes? Heck, even Death Poker from Devil May Cry will make this list. I mean, at this rate,
I don't know if it's just gambling episodes are my thing, but I have not personally seen a bad gambling episode of anime yet. Now, I probably will inevitably in the retrospective. But so far, let's keep the streak going with good gambling episodes. I mean... I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but seriously people, this episode is absolutely amazing. It gives Hotaru great screen time. She was really useful in literally beating the Daemon in her own gambling game. I mean, there's Jenga, there's slot machines, there's video games, they have everything. I mean... Gosh, there I go, rambling again. Oh yeah, Chibiusa was also pretty damn smart in this episode. And the humor, it just... God, I'm freaking... Anyways, back in Hotaru though. I actually really do like Hotaru. It's obvious that she has more going for her being Tomoe's daughter, and given the fact that they want to reawaken her as Mistress 9, so they can bring Pharaoh 90 to Earth. However, we do get some hints that there's more to Hotaru than just being Mistress 9 and one of the Deathbusters. It actually turns out, Hotaru is the reincarnation of Sailor Saturn. Now, I know what you're thinking. They're going to reawaken Sailor Saturn, right? Well, yeah, they try to, but Uranus, Neptune, and even Pluto don't think that's a good idea. Since Sailor Saturn, unlike the other Sailor Scouts, has a pretty dangerous element at her disposal. That being the element of death and rebirth. Now, granted, they're all still Sailor Scouts, but her power literally allows her to destroy planets and even entire dimensions, galaxies, what have you. And given the fact that we see how insane she is with the whole Mistress 9 persona, as well as being part of the Deathbusters, they don't want Hotaru to revive and even try to kill her, since her powers are just too dangerous. Regardless of her being a Sailor Scout, it doesn't matter since this kind of power is too dangerous in the wrong hands, especially the Deathbusters. The episode where Sailor Saturn first awakens is also where we get the first hearing of Pharaoh 90. Again, I'm not exactly a fan of Pharaoh 90 being brought in so late, but whatever. Following that, we get a few more Daemon encounters before the fight with Mehmet. And of course, I also said how her death was pretty dark, of her being sealed in digital space for God knows how long, and the fact that the other Witches 5 managed to pull the plug, literally on her plan, I think just shows that the Witches 5 at this rate were getting jealous of Tomoe. Oh yeah, the Witches 5, all of them really wanted Tomoe's attention. So if you want a list of Notice Me Senpai characters, pretty much all of the Witches 5 characters fit in that regard. The rest of the Witches 5 from that point on get the one episode treatment, which is a bit disappointing, but I will admit, at least they didn't waste screen time, so I'm not complaining in that regard. And their deaths and fights are all really creative, especially the very last one with Cyprien and Pito, and even the other ones with Villoué and Telu were good, since Villoué uses her nanomachines. Nanomachines, son! I am sorry. I tried to resist the urge to the Metal Gear Rising reference, but I had to at some point. We're all good and dandy. I mean, seriously, people, this arc just does so much stuff right. The stakes are higher, it's darker, it gives me a reason to care for these characters, and most importantly, it makes me root for them. I want to see these characters get out of these desperate situations. Furthermore, it's not just the Sailor Scouts, all the citizens are in danger, the Daemons targeting people. I mean, there's just so much here, people. The amount of content in the Deathbusters arc is just overwhelming. However, I really don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, take for instance the fact of the Cyprien and Pito fight takes place in the same episode Saturn/Mistress 9 awakens, as well as killing Chibiusa by taking her pure heart crystal. Once again, effectively used screen time. And it also gives the characters a reason to go out of their way and stop the Deathbusters. Not just because the world's gonna die or celestial obligations, but now they have a personal reason wanting to save Chibiusa. The following climax where they use an army of Daemons, literally forcing the other Sailor Scouts to shield around the giant tower of the Mugen Academy, gives a reason for the other Sailor Scouts to be busy, while Sailor Moon, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto fight the main evils alone. Again, this is some good stuff, people.
Like, the other Sailor Scouts getting killed by the DD Gals may have been darker, but here they give us a much better explanation. And the fact they use a literal shield of daemons is just clever. In this episode, we also get to fight with Gurmatoid, the daemon that was possessing Dr. Tomoe. And as I said before, this is an absolutely great fight. Heck, even Sailor Pluto manages to sacrifice herself. She doesn't die, but she'll be stuck back in the Gate of Time for a while before her power comes back to her. Mistress Nine, using the body of Hotaru, tries to trick Sailor Moon into giving her the Grail, but she's too smart for that shit. I mean, hey, Wise Man couldn't succeed in manipulating Sailor Moon, and Mistress Nine certainly won't either. I mean, like I said, the Gurmatoid fight is great. Mistress Nine definitely got the fight Pharaoh 90 should have gotten, but the climax here is really good, and it has me on edge. The strategies from both the heroes and villains are clever, at least compared to the other seasons and other arcs, and the Deathbusters themselves just have this air of threat and ominousness to them that I just don't get from other Sailor Moon villains, bearing a few exceptions, that is. The climax where they finally fight Pharaoh 90 is definitely my least favorite final fight, and Pharaoh 90 doesn't even have a lot to go off of, since, I mean, at least Beryl had a personality. Beryl had a reason to do what they're doing apart from just being generic evil, but Pharaoh 90 just being a giant planetoid demon is, well, a good spectacle for sure. And if we got a giant fight with, them blasting Pharaoh 90 with a giant beam, it would make for a really excellent spectacle and having a large-scale fight with a literal planetoid demon, but we don't exactly get that, and most of Pharaoh 90 is more just used as a self-destruct sequence. In fact, Pharaoh 90 isn't really even used as a character. They use Pharaoh 90 more as just a strategy. I think it's pretty lame if your big final, great big bad evil character is a literal strategy than an actual, well, character. Professor Tomoe manages to get Mistress Nine back into Hotaru, finally turning her into Sailor Saturn. However, it's revealed that Sailor Saturn's powers are not that malicious. It turns out her power of death and rebirth isn't used for, well, destroying or punishing who she views as, quotation marks, evil. It's because some planets are destined to die, and what she does is destroy them, but helps them be reborn. That's why she's called the Sailor Scout of Death and Rebirth, and why her weapon, the Silence Glaive, is such a monumentous asset to whoever wields its powers. Sailor Saturn / Hotaru goes in to defeat Pharaoh 90, but she'll die if she uses too much power. However, Sailor Moon goes in to save her, and manages to extract both Pharaoh 90 and Hotaru from the mess, defeating Pharaoh 90, and Hotaru is reverted to that of the form of a child. However, that's not the very last episode. In fact, that's only the third to last episode. The last two episodes involve the wrap-up, where it's revealed that Pluto had not died. Professor Tomoe, now losing his memories with Gurmatoid out of him, is given a second chance on life where he helps raise Hotaru in a child form. Again, I really appreciate this. It shows that Tomoe has a really good graze on him. The fact they give him a second chance because he wasn't being, evil because he chose to, but because he was controlled by Gurmatoid is really nice. And the fact that Hotaru is now a child, but can be reborn with a better life, is really good for me. We then get one final fight between, believe it or not, Sailor Moon versus Uranus and Neptune, who finally see that Sailor Moon truly is the leader and truly had something going for her. And again, I don't really like how they're still bitchy up until after this, but this last fight being a massive test was a good way to finally end the rivalry. At least until Sailor Moon Sailor Stars kind of ignored this, but we'll get to that when we get to that. The second to last episode being the fight with Uranus and Neptune and Moon, where they finally put their differences aside, the outer sentient and inner sentient, is a good way to end off the season. But once again, it's not the last episode, as the very, 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 very last episode actually stars Chibiusa, where she wants to go back now that she feels her role as a Sailor Guardian has been fulfilled. But a loose daemon in the ruins of the Deathbusters lab emerges, trying to restart the entire cycle all over again.
It is a bit sad that our very last episode doesn't even have Pharaoh 90 and more just a loose Daemon trying to restart the process. I will admit though, it does act as a good way for Chibiusa to come back as a Sailor Guardian and continue being alongside the Sailor Guardians in the past, as well as trying to unleash a side of her mother in the past that will hopefully make for a better future. And you know, this series could have ended here. I would be disappointed that Pharaoh 90 didn't get the last fight, and the very last fight is with a loose Daemon, but I'll admit, it's a lot better than a generic clip show or flashback episode we got in Sailor Moon R. And again, the series could have ended here, but Sailor Moon Super S comes after this, and we'll get to that in the next review. Yeah, I mean, when I said the series could have ended there, I did mean that. Now, this personally speaking isn't the ending I would have wanted, but like I said, it's way better than a flashback episode or a clip show preview that we got in Sailor Moon R. And I'm sure a few people may be a bit disappointed, but the Deathbusters arc got almost everything right. I did complain about Pharaoh 90 being a massive disappointment of a villain, but if you view Pharaoh 90 less and less as the big bad evil, and in a weird way, you could even argue Mistress 9 and Pharaoh 90 are kind of one and the same, then I guess I can look past that. Even so, the Deathbusters arc of Sailor Moon is unfortunately not a 10 out of 10, but this is as close to a perfect season of what we got in Sailor Moon, thus giving Sailor Moon X, in total, a 9 out of 10. Like, Pharaoh 90, a few other things, as well as admittedly Pluto's involvement, do bring it down a little bit, but I'd be lying if I said that ruined the season. This is the best season of Sailor Moon, and I cannot imagine where the series would be without it. I'm Quinn866, have a good one. Also, for those audio, my hair has that one strand, holy crud. The bad hair is happening more often than not on my channel. It's not intentional, guys. The bad hair is not intentional. With that said, hey all, I is recording. Oh, she's on the phone. Oh, I thought they were saying hi to me. Whoops. Well, by now, my review of WATV has probably come... Oh, that was, not in the script. Yes, you heard me correctly. When I talked about my Sailor Senshi list I had made a long time ago, I put Sailor Chibi Moon at number 3, Ray / Sailor Mars at number 2, and Sailor Uranus / Haruka at number 1. At the time, and for the longest time, Sailor Uranus was my favorite. No butt jokes, please. I'm trying to make this review as factual as possible and keeping the jokes to a minimum. My point is, even though I really do like Sailor Uranus, I can't take myself seriously sometimes. I just said no jokes. Yes, you heard me correctly. My top 3 Sailor Scout list back then was number 3 was Sailor Chibi Moon, number 2 was Ray slash Sailor Mars, and number 1 was Haruka slash Sailor Uranus. I mean, I know it's kind of surprising considering a lot of people don't like Sailor Uranus, but I really do like her. No butt jokes, please. Let's be mature about this, people. I know Sailor Uranus can act really bitchy, and to be fair, that kind of is her defining character trait. And I like her not because of strong female characters or other stuff I brought up in previous reviews, but because Sailor Uranus does act as kind of a good contrast to, well, a lot of the other Sailor Scouts' usual antics. I swear to God, my freaking hair